You know, what if you could get completely unfiltered advice straight from the people who've actually built billion-dollar companies? No PR, no pre-written scripts, just the real deal. Well, let's get into it, because our source did exactly that. They went out and distilled a playbook from some of the world's absolute wealthiest individuals.
So that's the big question, right? It's the one that drove this whole thing. Not the stuff you read in business books, but the real-world answers from the people who have actually pulled it off. And to find out, our source literally flew 16 hours across the globe.
And where did they land? Abu Dhabi, right in the middle of its massive annual finance week. And this was no accident. This meant you had this incredible concentration of global CEOs, investors from royal families, hedge fund billionaires, all in one spot. I mean, what a perfect chance to go right to the source.
Okay, so first things first, where is all this money, all this wealth actually being made today? This is so important to understand, whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or really just curious about where the economy is headed. And the answers they got were super specific, pointing to just a few key areas that are absolutely on fire right now.
Let's just start with a number. And honestly, it's a number that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. $10 billion. What in the world could possibly generate that kind of revenue?
Well, that was the sales figure for one single real estate developer in just 1 year. As she put it, the kind of energy and talent you see in a city like Dubai creates this perfect storm for these just monumental deals in property.
And look, the huge numbers don't stop with buildings. Check this one out. $8 billion.
That's what a private equity investor estimates it'll cost to build a single, massive, AI-powered data center in Texas. And this points to the second key area, the unbelievable amount of money flooding into the actual infrastructure that powers artificial intelligence.
Okay, so if you boil down what these titans of industry were all saying, 4 areas just kept coming up again and again. You've got the future, which is AI and its data centers, the physical world of real estate development, the big money movers in private equity, and then the world of payment processing, where one founder was doing $300 million a month in volume. Just incredible. But here's the thing. Knowing where the money is, that's not enough. Not even close. The bigger question is, what kind of mindset does it take to even play in that arena? And that brings us to the second part of their playbook, something they call the entrepreneur's gauntlet.
Now, this quote, this one really hits you. It's from an AI billionaire who sold his company for over $1 billion. He's echoing Elon Musk here, and it's just this brutal gut punch of a description of the mental toughness you need. This is not some casual career path. It is an all-consuming, everyday battle. And that led to this really fascinating debate they had. Is this path even for everyone? You had one CEO who was just adamant. Absolutely, life will teach them. But then you had a real estate developer who's also a judge on Shark Tank Dubai, and she totally disagreed. She said, no, it requires a special spark, and this ability to keep going when literally everything is telling you to just give up.
And that special spark she mentioned? Well, it has a name, the founder mentality. She said it's the #1 thing she invests in, even more than the idea itself. It's when she sees a founder who gets told no by 10 different investors and somehow gets even more fired up to prove them all wrong. It's that raw, unstoppable belief that they are a winner and they just will not lose.
So what fuels that kind of mentality? Well, for one economic advisor out of Abu Dhabi, the answer was, honestly, pretty surprising. He broke his success down into a simple recipe. 20% he said is effort and commitment, but a whopping 80%, that's faith. A belief in God, a belief in destiny, some power that goes beyond just your own grit.
Okay, so we've got the industries and we've got the mindset. Now it's time for the most important part, the specific, actionable strategies they actually use to win. This is their playbook.
So let's kick it off with a total masterclass in negotiation from that AI billionaire. So picture this. There's a $30 million deal on the table all ready to sign. But there was a catch.
The client was offering 10% up front, but he knew he needed 30% to do the job perfectly. So he ran this 3-step playbook. First, he stated his terms, not out of greed, but because he needed it to deliver excellence. Second, he knew his value. He was certain no one else could do what his company did. And third, and this is the big one, he was totally willing to walk away. He put his brand ahead of one bad deal.
And the result of that insane confidence? He literally stood up and walked out of the room. But as he says, we didn't even make it to the gate, they called us back immediately. They agreed to his terms right then and there. That's the power of knowing what you're worth.
And when it comes to building something from the ground up, the Shark Tank judge laid out her rules with crystal clarity. To get her to invest, you need these 3 things, period. A winning founder with that special mentality, a product that solves a real painful problem, and a market that you can actually make money from.
So what about the big exit? You know, the billion-dollar sale. Well, the advice here was totally backwards from what you might think. The single biggest mistake people make is trying to sell their company. The real secret? You focus on making the business so undeniably incredible that the buyers have no other choice but to come knocking on your door.
And this all leads us to the final and maybe the most powerful piece of advice of all. When the AI billionaire was asked for one message to leave with the next generation, he quoted the author Kurt Vonnegut, and he just said this: go and create something. A poem, a piece of code, a website, anything. Just bring something out of nothing. You see, the focus isn't on the money, it's on the act of creation itself.
So, after hearing their playbook, from the industries that are booming to that unbreakable mindset and the actual strategies they use, the only question left is the one they're really asking all of us. What will you create?